I'll turn the floor over to Mario to talk about time range search using Solr BBoxes.
Okay, then I'd just like to start. Yeah, since we heard a little bit on Monday about geographic name authorities and there have been lots of BBoxes involved, I thought I might just take the opportunity to show you a little bit of another use case that we discovered should be pretty useful when it comes to BBoxes, and that is the time range use case. So basically, imagine you do not only want to search for a year, but for a range of years. For example, you search for all titles related to history intersecting the era 1700 to 1800, and you do not only want to display the results, but also apply some kind of sorting onto that. So as a goal, what we would expect from such a mechanism is like search for 1700 to 1800. Then if we have some kind of title or search result that covers the entire area, we have like an overlap ratio of 100% or 1.0. And if it doesn't cover the entire era, then we have like only maybe 99%. And also we would like to have a penalty, for example, if it covers more than the area, so it's not that exact. So then we're maybe also to 99% or 98% or even less. And so with a mechanism like this, we would also be able to sort a result. So we were having a look at the basic fields in Solr and thinking about what we could use to achieve that. And of course, you can basically use a number format, but of course, that's no range. And the most obvious type, which is a Solr date range field, unfortunately is not really sortable based on the results and the intersections. So then we thought about, for us, this whole use case looks like some kind of spatial search with just a difference. We do not need like X and a Y axis. We only need like one dimension. And that's pretty much what we tried out. And there was also a mailing list entry on the Solr mailing list from David Smiley, who has published at least, I think, one book on Solr and is a Solr expert. And he proposed that we should try out the BBoxes. So basically how this works is you have, as I said, only the x-axis. And you define that, for example, you want to cover years in the range from 0 to 2000. So that means that you define your coordinate system, which is your world boundary from 0 to 2000. And on the y-axis, you use like the height 1. So the max y is 1 and the min y is 0, because we discovered that if you only use this as a line, it might screw up the overlap calculation as well. So here in this example, you can see that like the search time span is like mapped to the 7 to 1800. And for example, the blue area now would represent some literature that would like go over that area and thus receiving a penalty. In detail, this means that there is some query target proportion factor applied to it. So the calculation mechanism is kind of complex, but it can be read through within the Java docs of the BBox classes. So to calculate the overlap ratio, what exactly happens is that the algorithm will set the so-called target area, which is the blue area, in relation to the so-called query area, which is the orange area. And then it will decide based on a factor what exactly the result ratio will be. So, and therefore it needs to decide, does it rely more heavily on the red factor or on the blue factor, and that can be like configured with this query target proportion, which defaults to 0.25, which means that it's pretty much relying on the blue rather than the orange one, but you can also like change that and apply a different factor. And yeah, basically this is like what is needed for configuration. It's also pretty important that you need to know that there's a WKT CQL envelope syntax used to for declaring all this. And it's not like min x, max x, min y, max y, but the max and the min y are like interchange with each other. So just in case you want to check, that's very important to consider. So you need to define in the Solr config a point for your BBox, then the BBox itself with the world boundaries from 0 to 2000 in this case for the years. And this is like the, as I said, max y and min y, so from 0 to 1. And this is what the query would look like. So it's very important that you add this score equals overlap ratio parameter onto it. And here you can pass the query target proportion and use the intersects syntax, because there are also other kinds of ways to calculate this, but like for the time range, it's very good to use intersections. Yeah, and of course, there's more documentation in the solrapache.org website, depending on the current version of your Solr that you're using. And that's already it.